Okay, y'all. I got this done, this little mock-up done, so you can see everything that I've done here. You can see all the jacks. You can see subfascia, how straight it is. You can see how the rafters line up. Look at that. Look how they line up. Plain good. They plain perfect. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect. All the way to the valley. The hips line up. Look how the hips line up. Perfect. The other side of this little roof here, it's just a few jacks over here. I didn't put no subfascia on that side. So yeah. This down here, everybody, if you remember in part 1 or part 2, those lines down there, they represent the guts, the cellular level of the roof anatomy. That's what those lines represent. They represent the hips, the king commons. You see? I even got some jacks marked out here. So this when you do a roof like this, a model like this, and you put the lines at the bottom like I did on a base, a lot more things are going to make sense to you that you wasn't able to understand for years, even if you've been framing for 30 years. If you do it like this, and I want to tell you something. In order to be a good roof framer, you have to do this. You got to make a mock-up. Just make a small, you don't have to make one this big. This one is quite elaborate, and you can see I built it inside of my family room. It's quite elaborate. I'm that type of guy. You know, I build a house inside my house. You know, I'll do it. You know, that's just how I am, you know. And you can see I made this out of styrofoam. Look at that, y'all. Styrofoam. 2-inch styrofoam. Why? Because it was cheaper. And I could cut it with just a regular little saw. You know. And I use a rasp to get these edges for the bevel. My edges are all good. My miter cuts are good. Everything is joining up at the top. Everything. It's just beautiful. Look at the cuts. How tight they are. Look how tight the cuts are. Look how tight those cuts are. Look how tight those cuts are. Look at that. Look how tight they are. Just tight. All tight. 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 And I want to show you this too. Like when you get down to the smallest rafter, you don't have to make this like a rafter like this, that's this small. You don't have to make it a 2x7 or a 2x10. You can just make it a 2x4. I just did this because, you know, whatever, you know. But you can see this one over here. This small rafter here, I just made it like a 2x4. And I want to take this loose. The only thing holding this up is one nail. You see how I did that? I put a little notch over it because I noticed that when you're on a roof, when you're on the roof and you got a gun in one hand and this in one hand, that hook helps you because you can put this on here and just hold the top. You can just hold the top right here. And because you got that little hook on there, that can hold on to there. And you just put a nail in there. You put a nail at the top, pop, and you know that ain't going nowhere. And then you pop. Then you I'm trying to show you how you nail this. You put a nail at the top, pop. While you're holding it with one hand and the gun in the other hand, pop. Okay. And then pop, 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 pop. You put 2 nails there. You know. So yeah. You got your Valley Jacks in here, all nice and beautiful. Look how they line up and paralleled and everything. And you can see here, you can see on the 12-12 side, it's built up 5 inches. It's built up 5 inches on the 12-12 side. On this side, the 12-12 side is built up 5 inches. But on the 8-12 side, it's going right to the top plate. This right here represents the top plate that the ceiling joists sit on. That's what this represents. Okay? And you can see it's all parallel. Look at those two, that valley and that hip, how parallel they are. They equal distance at the bottom as they are at the top. Just beautiful. The ridge is level. The ridge is leveled, perfectly leveled. Perfectly leveled over here. So yeah, what you want to do is make you a model like this. You could do it with wood or you could do it with styrofoam. I like the styrofoam because it's light, it's easy to move. You know, you don't have to use a saw in your house. Although this is kind of messy because when you're cutting it, but I have people all around me all the time and I have them constantly vacuuming. Constantly. Every time I make a bunch of cuts, I have them, you know, and look how tight this is, y'all. Look how tight that is. And check this out, y'all. Look at the hip. Look at that hip. Look at the hip. It dies right to the center. Right to the center. And wait, let me show you how good this is. Because see, y'all just don't understand. Now I'm going to plane this right now. Look at that. Look at that, y'all. Right to the center of the subfascia. It goes right to the center. You see? Right to the center of the subfascia. Same thing with the valley. Look at that. This is how you know your pencil is sharp. It go right to the center. Look at that. Right to the center of the subfascia. That's the way you do it. Instead of having, like most guys, they have their hip all high and stuff, you know. And the end of the roof be going up right there and going up right there. This is how you have your roof. The only way you can have your roof like this is if you know exactly where to put the hip and know exactly what the stance is on the hip and on the valley and on that valley. You see? You got to know those things. You see? And I got that other side built up 5 inches over there. I got this side built up 5 inches. I got this side built up 5 inches. You see? And on this side, the 8-12 side, it sits right on top of the wall plate. What represents the wall plate. But anyway, that's all I wanted to show you. So I just want to, you know, because I want to take this apart because, you know, this is impeding the family and everything. But I'm going to take this apart. But I did this. The reason why I went this elaborate, you can see I got this sitting up on top of some joint compound buckets and some styrofoam and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you always, if you are just getting into roof framing or you're new, you want to do mock-ups. Have a mock-up at home and work on it until you perfect it. And the best place to have it is like in a garage outside the elements. I did mine in the house. Everybody can't do it in the house. But if you could find a place to do your little mock-up, it's going to make you a way better carpenter. It really is. You're going to understand things that most carpenters who've been framing for 40 years don't understand. And I'm going to say this too. Just because a carpenter's been framing for 30 and 40 years, I've known a lot of carpenters that don't understand basic concepts of framing. Now, they could put a house together. Absolutely. They could put a house together and they make good money. But guess what? There are some things that they really don't understand. There is some things they really don't. They just jam it together and they get paid. So they really not motivated to learn nothing else because they're like, hey, what difference do it make? I'm getting paid. You see, I'm getting paid. So but if you want to be that proficient carpenter that's really knowledgeable and be able to get up your speed, the type of things you want to learn is these type of things where your hips, they come out perfect. They dive right to the center. Your valleys, they come right to the center. I'm gonna sight up that hip. Look at that. Right to the center. Valley, hip, right to the center. Look at that. Look at that. That's beautiful. Right to the center. I'll show you this other hip. Look at that, y'all. Right to the center. Beautiful. And the hip is low just a little bit. Why? Because the plywood is a 1/2 inch thick. The top of the plywood is going to die right to the center of this corner. That's how I have my calculations. Okay. So this is the type of construction that you can go anywhere. You can go on union job sites. It don't matter. You're going to be the top dog. You're going to be the top dog if you know how to do this kind of stuff. And I'm going to say this too. If you are a really knowledgeable carpenter, master carpenter, it kind of don't matter even how slow or fast you are. Because nobody's going to be able to hold a candle to you if you're able to do what you see here. And the reason why I did this mock-up, because a lot of people like talking about something, but they can't do a demonstration. They can't show you a mock-up. They can't show you a working prototype. Here is a working prototype. You're looking at it right here. This is a working prototype. Now, if I could do a roof like this in my house, I could do a roof anywhere. Anywhere. As a matter of fact, I will tackle a type of roof that I've never done before, just because I know trigonometry, I know geometry, and I know, basic roof construction and principles. I'm not intimidated on taking on stuff that I've never done, like a geodesic roof. I'm not a timber framed roof. I'm not intimidated of that. But this right here is good carpentry. This right here, this roof, if you sheet this roof, it will sheet perfectly. And that's something I'm going to show you all too, how to figure the calculations for the sheet cuts. Yeah, I know that too. You see the angle for the valley here and the angle for the hip here? Well, I could figure that out on paper and tell you the exact angle. But the only way that these exact angles for the sheeting work is if you frame the roof like this. But anyway, this is Lewis Thomas with Master Carpenter Series signing out. And I hope you get a lot out of this series. I want you all to comment, like, and subscribe. All right, bye.